Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winning Women Talk Show. I'm your host, Regina Shearer, and as always, I'm so glad that you found time on your Thursday evening or whatever time of day it is, depending on what time zone you're in, just to spend time with us for this episode. If you are a regular viewer or listener, you know that each and every week I try to present to you a different woman who shares her journey to success. And success is relative. It's not necessarily about making lots of money, but it's about doing that special something that makes this woman passionate about it, that fulfills her ambitions, her dreams, her career goals, but most of all, her vocation in life. And if you've been doing this regularly, you know that they don't just do it for themselves, but what they do benefits so many others. And if you are a first time viewer or listener, we want to thank you for joining us. I'm thankful that somebody told you about the Winning Women Talk Show. And I hope that tonight you will hear something from our guest that will inspire you, that will motivate you, and that will make you say, and this is our mantra, if she can do it, so can I. And so we hope that you will pay attention, that this will be beneficial to you. And also, we invite you to participate. We have two ways that you can participate in our show. And one is to contact us by phone. And that number is 781-384-5587. And I'll say it again, 781-384-5587. So put that in your digital device or write that down. And if you're phone shy, you can feel free to email me, and that's Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. And that part shouldn't be hard for you because that's how you're watching us tonight through rgbinternetradio.com. So we hope that we will hear from you at some point this evening, and we look forward to it. And I know our guests will be very happy if you participate in that way. I am pleased to introduce you to our guest tonight. Her name is Yolanda Williams. And yes, it's spelled Yolonda. Yolanda has served 25 years in active duty in the Army and is now a retired senior non commissioned Army officer with both drill sergeant and first sergeant assignments. Her primary military specialties were Army combat documentation and production specialist, and as an Army intelligence analyst. She served in multiple combat tours and special operations, psychological warfare duties, and was awarded, I love this, the Bronze Star for actions in Afghanistan. After retiring, Yolanda should have been taking a nice break and a rest from 25 years of the work she was doing, but no. Yolanda is the vice president of the APSU Military Alumni Chapter, and APSU stands for the school that she obtained several degrees from. And we that's Austin P. I think it's PA State University. And Yolanda also is not only the vice president of APSU Military Alumni Chapter, but in doing that, her work is to ensure awareness among women veterans for all of us and to serve as the link between the Women Veterans of America and the Military Alumni Chapter for the military graduation recognition ceremonies and other events that are held for them. She is also the president of the Clarksville, Tennessee Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Look at that pin. You'll see it in a minute. She served several years as the national commander for Women Veterans of America. And in her role there, which covered a lot of things, Yolanda managed to get a bill passed and signed to recognize June 12th as Women Veterans Recognition Day. She has also just completed um, 2 years of service as the executive director of leadership in Clarksville, Tennessee, focusing on organizational leadership, team development, and community engagement. And in between what she's currently doing, she was also the owner of her own restaurant, Yolo's Food for the Soul. And that restaurant was nominated as one of the best new restaurants in Clarksville. She earned her associate in arts and her bachelor's in business management at the University of Phoenix, her culinary arts degree, so you know that food she was cooking was good, and her master's degree in leadership and organization at Austin Peay State University. So there's so much more to her. She's involved with a lot of boards, a lot of advisory boards, and just doing a lot of things. But all I can say right now is welcome, Yolanda, to the Winning Women Talk Show.
Thank you, Bishop. Miss Regina, I am just honored, I believe, to even be considered. I think you shared with me the word phenomenal. That was the first time
Yes.
I'd ever heard it, but it spoke to me so independently because we use the word she rose when we talk about military women and firefighters and all that because we are heroes too, but we are sheroes. But phenomenal is a win for me, and just to be considered in the company of the phenomenal women that have come before me. It's a pleasure to tell my story, to just talk about how it is to be what most people know as YOLO. So I
Well,
want to
tell
say
us about YOLO.
exactly. So YOLO is this anomaly in real life. I am 55 years old. I have no children. I am not married. And when the word dedicated comes up, most people are like, you will see my photo. Probably why I had the vast ability for my resume and bio to say so much because I had that time that a lot of people actually are doing other great things, taking care of families and being a spouse and all of that. So don't take any of it for granted. I just know that I use the tools that God gifted me to do his work and trust his people. So in the big scheme of things, I would say that I did serve 25 years in the United States Army, retiring into active after active duty and stepping into like what Miss Rachel said is my desire to own my own restaurant. It was I enjoy cooking. I was not a cook in the military, as she stated. I did military intelligence, the brain children of analyzing what the Army should do, how we should do it, and how best to accomplish it. I mean, taking all data and all things of importance before we make those decisions. But and my other career path was I was a combat photographer prior to becoming a military intelligence analyst. And in that role, yet again, capturing what was happening to be able to tell the story later. And we'll talk about what are lessons learned. I tie it all together with data programming. So if I'm that person out there with the camera, independent of what's happening for the training, to be able to capture that and show facts only, what does that allow the individuals viewing it to see? What does that allow things to happen? It allows that evolution of I can do it better next time, or we did that completely wrong. Let's not do that again. So those are just the two areas that I started out in and I carried on for 25 years. And when I got out, I said, I just want to cook. I enjoyed having my friends over. I cooked a lot in the military for my soldiers. We were like family. Holidays, when we can't go home, who's cooking? We going to Miss Yellow House. That was just what it was. Grandma's recipes flew off the shelf. We just had a good time fellowshipping together. So when I retired, and my last duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which now I'm a current resident of Clarksville, Tennessee. I was like, well, how do you, get involved? What are you supposed to do? How do you even become or be a civilian? Um, we're supposed to talk about a little bit on this show about my career path. Well, 25 years of my career from 19 years old till I was 44 was dedicated to serving this country so that each one of us gets to sleep well at night. Um, but I also gave up a lot of things that becomes human nature and natural. I didn't even understand that you should buy like a separate coat because I had a coat given to me. Or like you need to think about where you're gonna be and what you're gonna wear because I put a uniform on every day. The same one. It was
Right.
clean, it was fresh boots. I knew what to wear. Now I gotta decide what I gotta wear to go somewhere. Those those transitions, while simple, I think were very complex depending on how you retire or how you leave the army or how you change. So what I found, and I was a senior when I transitioned, it was difficult for me with the I joke about the clothing, but just transitioning and being different. It's like being home from school on a school day. Everybody that you know, all of your friends are still at school. So you the only one at home, and mama, how dare you get up? You better be sick for real. But you just had to figure out how to navigate a space that I lived in for 25 years.
Mm,
And financially, right? Medical procedures, how do you get your meds? Because all of that is doctrinated into what we do in the army. Well, that ties together well with YOLO's Food for the Soul. Veterans, women, people were still trying to figure out what they was doing, where they wanted to go, where they wanted to be.
mhm,
My place kind of set the tone for that. Yes, there was you should pay this if they come to work. Well, maybe they can't work right now because they still working on something. So you're gonna get paid to do what I need you to do, but I want you to be in a space where you feel safe.
mhm,
Had an opportunity to talk to so many of my sisters in arms because right outside of Fort Campbell, what happens right outside of any military base? People, that's the last assignment you had. You settle in and you kind of fit in how you get there. But sometimes you don't always find your tribe.
right.
So women veterans became our tribe. It became that place where you might didn't retire as a senior. You may have only done 4 years. You may have gotten hurt in basic training. It didn't really matter if you served. You were my sister, and you had a place where you could come and we could talk about it. And as that conversation grew, some of my go-to women veteran sisters, Mary Ross and Monica Meeks, because I know y'all listening, y'all was there to say, what do we need to do for these ladies? Right. And we started advocating for all sorts of things, better medical care, different verbiage to recognize women veterans. And in a community where the percentages is really high, we have over 7,000 in our little county of women veterans, but none of them know because all they did was got out to be moms. They went back to being daughters. They went back to whatever that was, and they didn't file their claims, or they didn't know they had educational benefits, or they just were unaware. Well, here I am, this senior that gets through all of this red tape, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of hard, even for me. So, how do I make that easier for who comes behind me? How do I try to set a tone, a space, and a place where they have somebody to talk to, they have a question? And chapter 47 in Clarksville, Tennessee evolved from that very mindset.
Wow.
And that's where we pull it together, right? And then right now we have a social media page. There are some chapters all over, which is how I ended up becoming national commander for said organization. Because my ideas are that how do we bring people in and try to help them on a one-on-one. There's no magic potion to this. Um, there's no dollars and cents. I didn't get to go to the bank and write a check and pay everybody bills. I can't. But what I can do is offer you a good wage, an opportunity to learn and work with some other people. And that's kind of where YOLO's feeding you, but feeding your soul. And capitalizing on the fact that everybody spells my name wrong. So YOLO, long before you only live once, is how I have spelled my name since birth. And I just use it all to tie together. So I hope that story is entertaining and as energetic as it is to me. But I loved my business. But God has a way of letting you know. I was praying every day for what to do because it was a lot. I thought I could take military things and put it in place in the civilian world. Don't work because me telling them if you don't do this, you got to stay late. That only worked in the army. And day after day, being the person in charge of everything from taxes to toilet paper, I think I stressed myself out. I would go to church on Sunday and pray for God to show me what's next, who's coming. I'm overcoming obstacles. I could do all things, and a little crack might be, yep, somebody showed up today for work, but that's the same person that stole from me the next day. So I was finding this pattern of, oh, that's the answer, but it's not. That's the answer, but it's not. And finally, God was like, since you can't figure it out, and in my hindsight 2020, I had a heart attack, but not was I not mad at God because I thought this is the worst time ever. But what I realized it was the best time for me. I was asking for something and I kept getting in my own way.
Mm, okay.
I wanted this place to be great. I wanted this change for my community. I wanted this thing that could make people happy. And I thought I could do it. And I can. But what I found out, and this is 2014, and we're not talking about 2025. What I know to be true, and even if I could try to take 10 years and compact it in what I've done after the Army, I would say that that was the best sit down punishment I've ever received. Um,
Okay.
it hurt, right? It hurt to be the black woman that her business closes. It hurt to be like, because we got S's on our chest. We are super women. We can do all things.
Oh, yeah.
Bet on black. I don't need no loans because I got military savings. I got this all together and it's perfect and it's aligned and it's what I I I I kept saying I wanted to do. And he said, okay, you asking, I'm gonna give it to you. And not in the way that I thought that it would come.
Right. Well, let me
I,
let me let me let me let me stop you right there because
okay.
the things that are going through my mind is you only live once is for you, YOLO. You're only living once and you have done so many things. What is the motivator? What is the drive that's in you? Because you're a driven person. No, it takes a special person to become career military. So you're not just driven, you're a person that commits. Obviously, that means you have this loyal thing in you. And can I take you back just a little bit more and
Mm-hmm.
ask you about growing up and because something fed that in you, something you saw it somewhere or picked it up somewhere, or maybe it's genetic, I don't know. But I'm curious about this drive that you have, this aspect of your character, which is positive, which is very positive. And I agree with you. Sometimes God has to say, okay, you're running ahead of me. Let me slow you down. But it's not just that. So are you an only child? Who's your
Okay.
role model? How did this all happen?
So I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna say two little kids because my mom and dad are 2 years apart in that 19 and 17, 19 and yeah, 19 and 18. They got on a bus and moved to St. Louis, Missouri. Um, no real family, a connection. My dad was looking for a job because he was like, I'm a dad and I'm gonna take care of my family. So driven is a word, it is him. He has been the person that even when I didn't know that's what he was doing because he was getting on my nerves about something, he was trying to make sure that we were being taken care of. And then, again, a lot of these positive traits, as you pointed out a second ago, that are needed to get you from point A to B. Sometimes people don't even understand it, and you don't even know the impact that you have by being that positive or negative. Because being driven can be harmful to those that are in the way and being driven over. And so I recognize recognize that too. But I have one sister, Latina Kirkwood. My mom and dad are Bobby and Ladine Williams, and then I have one nephew, um, 30 years old. So that tells you a little something about how young my
Mhm,
nephew, I mean my family is. We are a young, dynamic family of five. We
mhm,
have some extended family, most out of state, from where my parents live, but we grew up understanding. As long as from the day I learned how to talk and could understand English, my daddy said, "You gonna either be going to school at 18 or you gonna have a job." Like those were
mhm.
your options. And if we didn't understand anything else, we knew that. My job search wasn't quite the best, so I was like, Let me try the army.
Okay.
And the scariest crybaby, the last person that anybody would ever thought to go into a branch of the military would be me. If you ask any of my relatives, back even to my grandma before she left us, that was not the choice, not for anybody. But once I chose it, kind of like my dad, once I committed to this, I got to finish. And during those trials and tribulations, being shot at, gaining bronze stars, doing all the things, you check a lot of boxes doing it. I think the one driver or the one thing about self was that I can't fail. Um, I didn't want to go back home not accomplishing what I set out
Okay.
to do.
Yes.
Um, and this may be something that we as women also speak into existence as a motivator. We got to be the best. And
Mhm.
we want to be the best, and you're going to do everything you need to do. In my latter years, as I talked about being earlier a little while ago, in my latter years, I find that sometimes what you believe to be the best, and that heart attack was a prime example, um, it's not always the best. It is a best way, but not always the best way. So give yourself some grace, my sisters. Um, Take that pause back, but be driven, but be intentional
Mhm.
about where you are driving. I
Yeah.
used to say all the time, "How can I help you?" That was my motto on my resumes, on any letter that I was writing, anybody that I was taking, because I was there. I will show up. I am that person. But now the caveats that I have to say to myself within my capacity.
Okay. Okay.
You add on. It don't change. My mantra don't change. How can I help you? What is it that's broken that I can help fix? Let's do it
Okay.
within my capacity.
Wow. I have an email here. Someone said, I applaud you. I am a 28-year career Army soldier, Lieutenant Colonel. Said, but as a female and black female, she said, this has been no joke. This has
Yes.
been, if people think they work hard, they don't know what working hard is. How do you feel about that? And what are some of the challenges you faced? Because you and I could talk for weeks and share stories. That's what it says.
Listen, ma'am, you are so spot on. If I could salute you and hug you at the same time, I would. Trying to keep this, um, not necessarily the dog and pony show, because we did enough of that. And for those that don't know, because I want to make sure I speak to that, is you do the show and tell version that everything is nice when you come to do inspection. Everything was not nice for 25 years. I had some rough exchanges along the way. One of my very first ones, and it seems like my first ones be so simple, then I realized this is how people really are. I had my hair in two cornrows
Hmm.
going down to the back, getting ready to go for training. And someone said to me, "You can't wear your hair like that." I'm sorry, what? Uh, Black people, black women. It was one braid, one ponytail. That was it. But I got way too much hair. I got a whole lot of other stuff going on. That's not okay. Well, that was my first challenge to all the people. Like, I'm sorry, how am I supposed to fit this headgear on? And that was my first test of, like, you gotta challenge stuff that don't fit. But it wasn't always that simple.
Hmm.
You get picked last. Um, we always talk about the glass ceiling, and women get paid across the board less than our counterparts, no matter what career field. But in the army, your pay isn't always just evaluated on your job experience. If you are overweight, if you are to what they deem to be, um, don't speak the right way or don't address people the right way, they don't necessarily write that down anywhere or take points away. But when it's time to decide who gets the next promotion, or if you can only give certain people an excellent in our evaluation schemes, who gets those, right? So as a black woman, being 100, you had to be very careful if career focus was your thing. Um, I've taken PT tests, the physical fitness exam when I was not well, but you could not be there because you were already labeled lazy or non-supportive or not showing up. And yes, we could talk for hours and days about the indiscriminatory practices.
Yes.
Um, there's some weight challenges in one of, and she's not a friend of mine, but a retired sergeant first class. And I say she's not a friend because she listens to all social media. But Latanya Green is an amazing woman who advocated for our heightened weight standards because you can be a larger size and still not be overweight, but we
Right.
aren't looked like that. Our uniforms will fit different. Everything was never designed for a woman to begin with. So now here you come with these people that could do these jobs and we got these skills,
Hmm.
but you are a woman. And then now you're a black woman that's smart. How did you even get to this table? Yes, I know you saying that, but you have to keep on putting on a professional face and do your job if in state is you want livelihood to continue. And it's so sad that that's the way we had to navigate. And I believe we've gotten some rules and regulations and guidelines that are in place. But again, one of my roles, I advocated for victim advocates when it came to sexual assault, sexual misconduct, and things of that nature. Because not just for Black women, women will always just take it, or that's the way it is, or he's okay, he's just that guy. And back in my day, and all veterans say that back when I was in, there weren't those safe spaces, or they weren't utilized to where you could go and talk about it. So we came up with special, the sexual assault advocate, which was different than equal opportunity. This was something
Right.
completely different. So I went to that specialized training to be that for the young ladies and older ladies that had been through it and never talked about it. Being certified in domestic violence and understanding what you're looking for when somebody's been hurt. How do we advocate for the change? I can't stop the behavior if we don't advocate for the change. And it ties
Mm.
back to all of my degrees where it says data is the key. If I
Right.
come to you, sir, ma'am, whomever, about a problem or a situation, and we can show you the numbers don't lie.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it depends on who's preparing them nowadays. But
Well,
I know what you're talking about. I know
the
you're
listen, the real numbers don't lie.
if you're willing to take a look at the real numbers and believe
Yeah,
them, you're
because they can be
absolutely,
manipulated in this world of AI. It's very,
yeah.
very much so.
So, one of the things that I'm curious about is, well, I'll ask the question after I read you the next question. And this question is, 25 years is a long time. How many tours of duties did you do? What are some of the places you were stationed at?
So I have 4 combat tours. I have been to Korea, to Italy, to Germany, um, as duty assignments. Have traveled to China, Japan, just while over there. Have been stationed stateside everywhere from New York to California. Um, as I stated, I retired in Tennessee, did basic training for Dixie, New Jersey. Um, I have literally been around the world,
Yeah.
um, and it has been an exciting 25 years. When I first retired, the joke on myself was I need to move in about 2.5 years, or it's not going to be normal. Like I've never stayed anywhere for about more than about 2.5 years. My very favorite assignment was Korea. Um, the food, the people, it was far enough away from America, but you still had ties with the military to what was going on. But it was just a really great assignment for overseas. And I think what was the other question she asked me? How did I do it? One day at a time. I said put my boots on. Back in the day, we had to spit shine them. You spit shine boots, increase BDUs is how you start the day.
You
And
telling me about boots on the ground?
boots on the ground before it was a song. Listen, all these
Right.
things we be remixing. Look, them boots was on the ground in a whole lot of countries, stomping out a whole lot of things. But you just I think being faith based in my life is how I made it. Cause I've been frostbitten in Germany. I have been heat stroke in Colorado, and have been in the hospital in Arizona. And when I say those are the bad sides, right? But then I've also been the NCO of the year and soldier of the quarter. And the Army has run its gamut, and each hour looks different from the last. Um,
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because basically for wherever you've been, you've and that you talked about, it's very positive. And again, it goes back to what I was saying, that driven aspect of who you are keeps you focused, right? So that you can see how to make the best out of this situation. What about Afghanistan? Because you were in active duty there,
mhm.
right?
Yes, that's a hard. Um,
If it's not comfortable for you, you don't have to talk about it.
it's not as uncomfortable to talk about as is. I would. It could take me days to explain the hardships and the struggle, the loss. Um, my personality always says, "Let me find the good stuff and tell about that."
Well, I'm
Um,
asking as a woman
it
because
was
regardless
difficult.
of the military stuff, you were in a country where women have little to no status. That's what.
I was on a special team for military intelligence where we would go out and we talk with the communities that were close to our military bases. So for those that are familiar with military bases, there's a gate to get in. Only certain people have access. We set up encampments like that in Afghanistan. So that's how you would get on it. From a lot of things internal to the base itself was as best and as close to home that you could make it. It was like being on a bad camping trip. Things were allowed to be there. You had the
Yeah.
basics, but health and hygiene were a struggle. If somebody we didn't know and fight for all that, but outside the fence, right? Outside of the gate, outside of all of the even the war piece of it. I think going to those different camps that we have relationships with and talking with their leadership and knowing that the women couldn't be at the table, knowing that some of them weren't allowed to like go to school, or that there were different communities within communities that wanted to break up things with that positive spin on it. Um it was hard to see. We take so many things for granted in the United States, and not just children in general, not having enough, not having what they need. It's just sad.
Right.
Um, it's very
Right.
sad.
For those of you who have just joined us, as you can see, you are listening to Yolanda Williams. She is a retired 25-year career, retired military officer of the U.S. Army, and she has been sharing this journey into the military. And we're going to, when we come back, because we're going to take a quick break, we're going to talk about coming out and the new army that she's in. Because the many things she's doing still requires discipline, still requires commitment and loyalty and hard work. But if you have any questions for Yolanda, we invite you to please give us a call or email us at 781-384-5587, or you can email me at Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. So that's 781-384-5587, or email Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. So don't go too far. We're going to take a very quick, very brief break for one of our sponsors. So run to the refrigerator, get that drink, get that snack, and then hurry back because we'll be right back.
Do you know how many people are harmed by domestic violence every day? Every minute, 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner. Do you know what the leading cause of homelessness is for women? Domestic violence. Do you know how domestic violence ends? Through your help. If you know someone who needs help from abuse, please call Portal to Hope at 781 338 7678. Portal to Hope is a survivor driven team seeking to provide shelter, safety, and a pathway to gaining an abuse free life. Call Portal to Hope at 781 338 7678. We are here to help.
And we are back with Yolanda Williams, retired sergeant from the U.S. Army. And Yolanda, before we move forward, this email came and I thought it was a good one. Good evening, Yolanda. I'm wondering if there is camaraderie between women in the Army, or if there's a feeling that you must compete with each other to show that you are the best. It appears that women's worth as a soldier is sometimes belittled. Did you see women going above and beyond to prove themselves to men and even to other women? That's a great, those are great. Wait a minute, before you answer that, I'm going to come back to that because I have a caller on the line and I don't want her to have to wait too long.
Okay.
So let's take that call. Let's see. Are we able to get her? There we go. Good evening, caller. You are on the Winning Women Talk Show with our guest tonight, Yolanda Williams. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Regina. Good evening, Yolanda. I've loved listening so far. Yolanda, have a cousin who has been in the military for probably about the same period of time as you. She's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and she did serve in Afghanistan as well. So it's great that I know a woman like you, and I'm proud to know a woman like you who has served. So thank you for your service. And I also wanted to ask this. I hope it's not too personal of a question, but I ask it from the standpoint of guns, right? So I remember seeing my cousin with a picture coming back from Afghanistan with one of those like high-powered type of rifles. She was posing for soldiers, and I thought, wow, it's amazing that she's using this big gun and she knows how to operate it, and that she's been trained and she probably uses that sort of gun and other like high-powered types of military weapons.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about being retired now and having not so much access to those types of weapons, but having used them before? Are you sensitive to that? And one of the reasons why I also ask that is I had a colleague that I used to work with that served in Vietnam, and he was on the construction battalion, and he would tell me, I never want to pick up a gun again. I don't even like holding them. I'm wondering, has it made you sensitive, having served? Are you okay with the use of weapons? I know that that's a broad question, but I was wondering what you thought about that. And thank you for your feedback.
No problem. I'm gonna go back to the first part. So shout out to your cousin who was a service member, and I was my honor to serve, and I know as was hers. Um, the uh, weapons conversation, I have multiple guns. Um, but I also have been trained on them and understand them. I probably have photos too of carrying my M4, M16, or depending on which combat operation, what weapon we had to use, or was issued at that time. I believe the level of training that we started to do as a military, right? After Vietnam and after some of the other conflicts that didn't allow or force soldiers to be comfortable with their weapons or know what they need to do, or that the rules of engagement may have been different, that it caused some of that trauma that our Vietnam veterans and other brothers and sisters at arms are sensitive to at this time. some of those things did change for the better. Some of them not so much because it was lip service on a piece of paper to say that we did it. But what it did do was open up your own eyes to make sure you understood it. The brother that you were referring to that does not like it and doesn't want to, they were probably asked to do some things or had to do some things in the capacity of their deployment over there or drafting over there, depending on when he joined. That did not sit well with his spirit. So I think it's an individual call. I don't believe that it's a one shot answer for everyone. I do believe that if you are properly trained, if you take the time and go practice, just like anything else that you want to do and learn, you got to practice it to be good at it. Safety first with all of the with our political climate across the board, and I'll leave it there. It lends you to want to make sure that you can protect yourself, but I believe that um, right to bear arms shouldn't impede on somebody else's right to live. So, like, there's two sides to that same equation. The same thing with freedom of speech. You can say what you want until you hurt somebody's feelings. Then now you're gonna be subject to what that is. I feel the same way about weapons. I think that people, if you know what you're doing, you know how to handle them. Feel free to do that. Those that don't have the right to do that as well. And there's no must one shot answer about that. I hope that answered the question.
Our caller actually hung up. Sometimes they would, if they're watching you live,
Okay.
like there's a delay, and they want to hear
Okay.
your response, and they don't hear it in time as they're watching you. But
Got it.
I loved the questions that the caller had for you, but also Yolanda, I have to be honest with you. I think your response was one of the best I've heard from anyone associated with the military, and it didn't pigeonhole anyone in terms of mentality, ability, gender, or anything. And I think that whether you're in the military or you're just a citizen of this nation who's taking advantage of that right, that that's the mindset that everyone should have.
Yes.
Right. And so thank you so much. I loved that response. So now I'm going to take you back to because
We
I
gonna go back.
we have to
Yes.
go back to the question so that you. This
Yes.
is, I'm wondering if there is camaraderie between women in the army, or if there's a feeling that you have to compete with each other to show that you are the best. It appears that women's worth as a soldier is sometimes belittled. Did you see women going above and beyond to prove themselves to men and even to other women?
Yes. I think that's a yes across the board. I think every one of those answers gets an independent yes, and I can give caveated feedback to the majority of them. Um, did your women have to work harder? Absolutely. We have to do it everywhere we go. The military is no different. Did I find myself having to push harder than um, my fellow male compadres? Yep, because it was a challenge. Competing with other women, I think again, I'm gonna go back to individual mentality, right? I think everybody should be the best. I will push for you to be the best so that the best is at the front of the room. We get it lost sometimes when you're trying to be the best that there is somebody better and that's probably the best fit. Um so for me, I never did it, but did I see people? But what I also decided in my positive force thinking is that God put me out in front of them so they have somewhere to go. Um Sometimes people, while they are in their own functified self, um
Ah,
I say, people say they talked about Jesus, so I'm in good company. I feel like if you feel the need to say, to compete, to request to put my lips, put my name on your lips in whatever capacity, I believe that that is also turning on something within you that can help make you a better person. So for
hmm.
all of us that are competing, for all of us that are beating the men folks and doing the best job, don't think of it as you got to beat somebody else out. Just be the best, and whoever in the way, they're gonna get ran over. We're in a very, again, our political climate of this merit base and DEI and all of that. Be the best you. Sometimes you're still not gonna win. Believe me, I know. But I think our win comes later. I
Yeah.
think historically as a people, our win comes later. The Rosa Parks the Shirley Chisholms,
Yes.
those people that were the one and only, but the only person in the room, or the only person on the bus, or the first person to do. There's still a whole lot of firsts still happening, but you know the difference in that? There's a whole lot of firsts and a whole lot of first places, right?
Right.
There's first women in first places, first black women in first black spaces that we never would have heard of had it not been for the first. So I just say for those that I worked with in the military, I wasn't very, usually I was in a one woman space with male counterparts.
Hmm.
So I didn't have direct communication to be like, oh, me and her are doing the same job. So I did not face that, but I did see it. I
Hmm.
do know that when it came to just like everything else, women gonna be women. We are emotionally driven, and so if you can find your inner peace in your why, then you'll be you. They will be great, and so will you. So yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And even Martin Luther King, he made that statement. If you're going to be a janitor,
be the
be the
best.
best janitor
Mm-hmm.
you can ever be. And so,
Yeah.
again, I loved the response. Um, I wanted to talk to you about what you currently are doing.
Mm-hmm.
um, and because you've got two very demanding roles, as vice president of your alma mater's military alumni chapter, and also as the president of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority chapter that's in Clarksville. Tell us, because this is unbelievable. We only have 13 minutes left to this show. I cannot believe time has passed so quickly. But tell us a little bit about that, and what what your stimulation is in doing this work.
I think we tie it back to having a heart attack in 2016, being in a community that you didn't really know what you want to do and what you wanted to be when you grew up, because everything you done was in your rearview mirror. Your first, I'm gonna be in charge of myself, had stilted, and now you were sitting home. um the tribe that I talked about, women veterans, right? They all had different jobs and different capacities in different spaces. Well, I started volunteering a lot. I started being outside and being engaged with just getting to know where I now live, because I didn't know.
Hmm.
I had a house there. I had lived there for a lot of years, but I didn't know. So in doing all of that, it came across. Of course, I wanted to be a Delta. Everybody says that. From the time I could understand what they were, I wanted to be one. But paths that I crossed with some of my veteran sisters, Celestine McNeil, shout out to her because she was a retired sergeant major, one of my outside Army mentors. And it was like, hey, what are you doing? We would get together and hang out. We danced in a dance group. There was some retired veterans over there. There's some Deltas over there. So what I started doing is there was this network of people that was being built that I didn't even know was happening because it was in natural course of life. Was that continued to happen? The spaces within Delta Sigma Theta, the spaces within Women Veterans of America, the spaces within the Alumni Association, all had like a common thing. How are we serving this community? So if I'm the one person and I'm in three spaces, which probably multiply about five more, I'm in all of those spaces. How do I take what that entity is doing and marry it and make collaboration and partnerships so that now these things woven together get to not only help the envisionment of what I think should be happening for our community, it takes each one of those organizations to the next level because now they've collaborated with another entity.
Hmm.
Um, I think that intersectionality is a word I made up in my own mind. It's probably in a dictionary, but I remember speaking
It's
at a
a
Black
word.
History
You got it.
at Black History event, and the mayor was like, Yolanda, you wear a lot of hats. And I was like, but it's the intersectionality of it, sir. Because now all of these people get to be in this same space. Because y'all might have came to see Yolanda, but Yolanda talking about voting today. She's talking about breast cancer tomorrow. She's talking about veterans registration the next day. We talk about it all. But you always know that I'm a wealth of knowledge because I am connected in that space. So that is how the driver still stays the same for me. How can I help somebody else? And I can't help you if I don't have the right information, if I don't avail myself to be the change that I want to see. I can't want something to be different and I won't commit the time.
Hmm.
Not just showing up, but actually putting in the work. Um, and that's Those that know Deltas, that's our background. Social action. How do we change the world?
That's right.
Military members, I served. Everything we do is how we serve others. And so mine is serving and the dedication to make things better. And the focus on my people, of course, the black and brown minority and the women, number one stunners. Yes, we are. But
Yes.
if we rise, if what how does that thing go? If the water rises, everybody rises. So let's work on just, raising the bar so everybody gets better. I don't want to see anybody be bad on no level.
So in these three different organizations are, I'm assuming, but I could be wrong, that there are individuals who are in all three, right? Because I know you tell them. Now you got to be a part.
The meeting is tomorrow. You gonna be there? Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Are your meetings remotely held or
So depending on the organization, we do monthly meetings online. For Delta, we have our one meeting is online and one meeting is in person monthly. And then as the president, I try to be at all things. Um, for the other organizations, we meet as needed or when there's a specific focus, sometime around homecoming for the university, when it's donor time, or when we have graduations. Like we have three main focuses that we kind of put our energies towards. And for Women Veterans of America, that's an everyday situation. And I say that because another one of those eye-opening moments, and I shared it with a brother veteran of mine because I served on a veterans treatment court where we help veterans who got into trouble with the law, but it's not criminal because
right?
there's some other things going on in your background that you can get help with, and then now you don't have to necessarily face all of the criminal charges that would be related to a drug or DUI because it's tied to some other military trauma or
Hmm.
some just bad decisions. Um, but I'm one of there's two women veteran mentors and 10 men. That's who was on the mentor board. And we were having a discussion about Women Veterans Day, kind of early on in the processes of getting this bill passed. And I had five of the six men, both were married to spouses who served in the military as well. It was like, what are you talking about? Women do get recognized. I was like, you go in the store and you are immediately asked, especially in our community, are you a veteran? Did you serve? I go in the store, ain't nobody asking me that ever. Not ever. If I'm at a restaurant and they bring the bill, oh, do you do military discount? Gonna ask you every time, not the female. At
Hmm.
the VA, I have been asked so many times, are you the veteran spouse? I am the veteran. So it was about the
Wow.
acknowledging that we exist, um, and getting people to understand the impact of that. So that whole idea of seeing change really happen in real life, that's what I think was a big game changer for me too.
You said that, and I am reminded of reading today's Times, New York Times, and there was a photo of a black man and a white man, veterans of Pearl Harbor. And the white man was 100 years old, right? And that was remarkable in itself. But I thought about it, and when you're talking, and you're absolutely right. People assume that men who are elderly, in particular, they don't do it so much with young men. But if they're elderly men and they look like they're over 60, 70, they ask, are you a veteran? They don't do that with women at all. And when Veterans Day comes and everybody's having discounts at Dunkin' Donuts or some restaurant or something, they don't ever ask women, are
No,
you the veteran?
no,
And when they are celebrating Veterans Day or anything else, that's what you see. Men with their hats on and their
yes.
uniforms. And uh, thank you for reminding me
And
about that.
those two gentlemen, I asked them because of their spouses. I said, go a week at all the places that y'all go to, and when we have this meeting next month, tell me if she got any level of what that looks like. And both of them were like, you were right. And we're on board with how do we get this recognition day established, because it's completely different. We had to join on to be allowed to join on a certain whole of the bill. Why not have that day recognized for the work and the hard effort of all women veterans? Yes.
Well, on behalf of all women, I want to thank you. June 12th.
Yes.
People need to
Thank you.
know it. It's
Yes.
Women's
That
Veterans
is right.
Recognition Day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. So what's next?
So, I think what I've learned, I said I had a post career that was 25 years in the Army. I've been doing community advocacy on all levels for the last 10 years. And I believe that God has something else for me. I'm not sure what that is. All of the advocacy work, all of the opportunities to serve, I've learned so much, taking different parts of each one of my degrees and used it. Not necessarily, because I think one of the questions I read earlier was like, did your degree what you do as a profession? I think mine is all encompassing. I got 25 years of experience in labor and leadership. Then I got a few degrees that say that I think both pieces have to come together to tell the story. Book knowledge for those out there still in college is important. To go and graduate, real life experiences is how you make it applicable.
Right.
So for me, I think I'm going to continue to say yes to people on how I can help them, but I want to know that the impact is what I got a passion for. I started it over these last 10 years, but my intentionality, because as you stated, I'm now one of the primary caregivers for my dad. And so a lot of my things are remote driven, which is a good thing now, but I want to help people find their voice. I want to help women, veterans find their peace. I wrote on my notes, sis, get a therapist. I think we don't talk about it enough that we have self care and we need to talk about it. But find you somebody, if not a therapist, somebody you trust, a pastor, a deacon, a bishop, and that you can really walk in our paths. And this is not for just because you're going through something, it's all the time. So I want to do something in that field, how I connect real life with getting the help that's needed. And if that's me as a helper, maybe I'm supposed to go back to school and do that. I don't know, get some more certifications.
Look,
But
there's no room on your walls for any more degrees.
I I don't even want it for the paper. I want to do it to help people, but help them in a
Yeah.
space that
Yeah.
I see the need.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say this. Our time has come to an end, but I personally want to thank you, Yolanda, for your active duty, and now you're retired active duty. But in seriousness, thank you for protecting our nation all these years. Thank you. Many people don't stop to think that the work that military people do, even when it's thousands of miles away, is still protecting this nation. So
That's right.
thank you for all you endured. And know this, you can have as many degrees as you want. Book knowledge is fine, it's knowledge. But wisdom comes from experience
That's
and
right.
combining it with the knowledge you possess.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you are a wise woman.
Thank
And
you.
I want to thank you. And you are a wise, winning woman. And so we are grateful to you taking time out of your day to be with us tonight. And I won't tell anybody where you are, but I want our listeners and viewers to know that she's actually on vacation and she's doing this somewhere else. And I thank you for taking this time to be with us.
You're
You are
welcome.
a winning woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Thank you for
too.
having me. And this again, it's just been a blessing all the way around. And God makes no mistakes. No matter your
None.
season, no matter your time, no matter where you're supposed to be. Every conversation is meant to happen and it's supposed to change something, if not in you, but in them.
Yes.
So
Well,
thank you
I know
again.
you've changed a lot of people's thoughts tonight, and I thank you. And for
All
those of
right.
you who have been with us throughout this hour, we hope that again, something that you heard has changed your way of thinking for the better and has touched you, moved you, inspired you, motivated you to say, you know what, things are tough right now, but if she can do that, So can I. So join us next week, same time, same place, for on the Winning Women Talk Show. I'm Regina Shearer. I'll see you next week. And remember what I say every week: love somebody. Good night.